What is well, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I am Prue, your host, the best beard in all of F1. William Story, you have no place here, man. You don't, and you ain't here right now. Week 1 is finally behind us in Bahrain, and it proved to be nothing shy of historic. Haas F1 seems to have found redemption, up and down, I'm telling you. Kevin Magnussen scoring in the points, finishing 5th. This is a season of redemption for them. Alfa Romeo featuring both drivers in the top 10, one of which was the rookie driver Zhou Guanyu, finishing 10th. Very, very uncommon to see a rookie driver in their first race of their first year in F1. Finishing the points. Really, really impressive. Mercedes getting a podium spot in 3rd for Lewis Hamilton. George Russell also finishing in the points as well within the top 10. Yuki Tsunoda at AlphaTauri using that Red Bull engine did finish in the top 10 in the points. Good job, Yuki. Pierre Gasly. No. Both Ferrari drivers claiming the top 2 spots of the podium in 1st and 2nd in the Grand Prix on Sunday. Congratulations to the man from Monaco himself, Charles Leclerc. And his teammate Carlos Sainz finishing 2nd. Side note, Charles Leclerc also won qualification on Saturday. Ferrari seems to have a ton of pace. Not just Scuderia Ferrari, the main factory team and outfit, but also their customer teams. Alfa Romeo uses Ferrari power plants. Yes, I know Alfa Romeo, for their street cars, makes their own engines. However, in Formula 1, it's not uncommon to find an automobile manufacturer being a customer team to another engine manufacturer or constructor. But both Ferrari customer teams, customer outfits, if you will, they are both finding a ton of success. Alfa Romeo as well as Haas F1. They've also seemed to have built themselves a proper car. Really looking forward to seeing how they're going to do this weekend. Full disclosure, I realize we only have one race behind us. That sample size to gauge everyone's success and progress is super small. It's really small. We only have one race to base all of this information off of. So what does that mean? That means I get to completely over-speculate. I get to completely overhype things moving forward. Only the second time in F1 history have we been to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Last year was the first one. They built the track in, I believe, less than a year. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. But it proved to be wild. And largely in part due to the stewards, not the actual events on the track. And the other in part to Christian Horner and Toto Wolff. But hopefully that has kind of subsided. Max Verstappen is a defending F1 champion, and Red Bull seemed to have a lot of issues last week with motors blowing up. Now, I don't really know if it was necessarily motors blowing up, unless you're Pierre Gasly. Both cars from Red Bull, both for Checo Perez and Max Verstappen, featured catastrophic engine failures, more than likely due to electrical issues or fuel pump issues. Some components from Magneto Marelli as well as Bosch. Not really sure what the culprit is, but what I do know is they only had 5 days, essentially 5 days, because FP1 and 2 is today, Friday, in Saudi Arabia. But that's why they get paid the big bucks to deal with all that stress. Well, who are you pulling for this weekend? Let me know in the comments down below. What teams do you like? What car do you think looks the best? If you don't think it's Alfa Romeo, you're probably wrong. I do think the Red Bull car looks really, really good, but my top 2 favorite cars on the F1 grid this year in this particular order, definitely Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo Orlen, just such a simple, almost retro-looking style to their car, just real classic to me. And then actually, believe it or not, Williams. I think the Williams car is just super, super clean. Simple is hard to do well in terms of aesthetics. I really think they've nailed it with that livery at Williams Racing. But looking forward to Jeddah. Jeddah is the second largest city in Saudi Arabia. The F1 circuit, also known as the Jeddah Corniche circuit, happens to be a street course circuit, as well as being the second longest track or circuit in all of F1. The longest being Spa in Belgium. You'll also see Spa called Spa-Francorchamps. Just call it Spa for short. That's what we all go by when we refer to the best race on the F1 calendar, my opinion. I do love the track in Jeddah, though. It is 27 turns, both of which speed can be maintained and overtaking can be had in many of them. Oftentimes when you see such a windy track, there's not a lot of overtaking, which can lead to a boring race. Monaco's that way. But just because this is a street circuit doesn't mean it's actual city streets. You have 2 or 3 of those in Formula 1. New to that category is Miami this year. That will take place on city streets. You also have the race in Monaco, which is the crown jewel, but many would argue that it's boring. And then you also have Baku in Azerbaijan, which I actually like that race. I might be one of the few. Dude, I cannot wait for this race. I love Jeddah, and the fact that this time it's at the beginning of the season, I'm actually really, really stoked to see that. There will not be a sprint qualifying this weekend. That will take place in 3 other tracks. We'll get to those as we approach them later in the season. But you have FP1 and FP2 today, aka Free Practice 1 and Free Practice 2. And then you also have Free Practice 3 tomorrow, as well as qualification shortly thereafter. What takes place in FP1, FP2, and FP3 has nothing to do with what takes place in qualification. But it allows all the drivers and the engineers and principals of each team to sort out the car because A, this car is completely brand new from the ground up, and B, how are the track conditions? Have they deteriorated over the last year? Is the surface kind of sucky? How does the wind affect certain sectors? Certain sectors will have DRS. Here in Jeddah, you only have 3 of those, 1 for each sector. And it also gives time for the drivers because they will be able to have other cars on the track during FP. Why is that important to have other cars on the track? Well, it's pretty simple. It allows the cars to get close to one another. It allows them to get more comfortable with the track. It allows them to get more comfortable with their own car. FP 1, 2, and 3 is very, very important. Little tidbit, when you do have a sprint qualifying race on a Saturday as opposed to a normal qualifying race, which we won't have this weekend, they actually get rid of FP3. You have FP1 and 2, and then a sprint qualification race. It is a qualification race, but it's more like a condensed Grand Prix. I happen to like it. I seem to be in a minority there, but I'm an American after all, and it kind of appeals to my senses a little bit. The main reason why F1 has done the sprint qualification race is really to drive ticket sales earlier in the weekend. But I digress. I happen to like it. With this new budget cap in F1 that's putting a ton of pressure on the teams, especially the larger teams like Mercedes, running a sprint qualification race is more wear and tear on the vehicle. Therefore, that means you have to repair brakes and things like that, or fix parts you might break. Sprint qualifying as opposed to normal qualifying puts a ton of wear and tear on the vehicle. Not to mention FP1 and FP2 do that as well, and that is all part of the budget and factored in. But now you're putting a smaller race with other cars on the track before the Grand Prix on Sunday. Span that out over the course of a year. It really, really hurts the bottom line with this new budget cap, which is really, really low. And by really, really low, I mean to the tune of about, 140 million. That might seem like an astronomical amount of money, and I think it probably is. But compared to what Mercedes has been spending on their cars in recent years with no cap, they were spending like $440 million a year with their F1 program, which is, and the results kind of speak for themselves. Will we see Ferrari maintain their pace? Will we see Red Bull sort out all their issues and match that pace of Ferrari just like they did a week ago in Bahrain? Will Haas get another driver into the top 10? Looking at you, Schumacher. Come on, let's get up there. Will Mercedes be nothing more than a glorified mid-pack team just like they were in Bahrain? Hot take! Will McLaren, there's a McLaren in F1? Will McLaren actually put themselves together and be able to piece together something respectable for this weekend's race? And lastly, another takeaway that I'm personally looking forward to, 2 final points. Will Alpine be able to get both drivers into the top 10 again and maintain their quiet dominance as they inch their way closer up the Constructors' Championship points? And lastly, will Alex Albon at Williams be able to inch his way forward and nab that 10th place spot? He finished in, I believe, 14th last weekend, which might not seem very plausible given what he had to work with. I think it is progress in the right direction. With Williams, their progress has to come in smaller bites. Smaller victories, I get it. Nicholas Latifi really needs to get something together because now that Nikita Mazepin is gone, Nicholas Latifi is the worst driver in F1. Alex Albon is a man. Everyone knows that I like Alex Albon. He's one of my favorite F1 drivers on the grid, and I really happen to like watching him in the German DTM series over the last couple of years. But he's back in F1, and I think it's a really cool thing. So with Williams, they have a new principal that started last season who was wildly successful in the world of World Rally Championship. The best form of motorsports on earth. Sorry, F1. F1, I love you. I do. I'm wildly passionate about it, but I really, really like World Rally Championship. Back to F1, though. Jost Capito, the team principal at Williams, has a very, very unique gift of being able to get into his driver's psyche and motivate them to do things with cars that the car on paper and in theory should not be able to do. George Russell was very, very good at that in terms of a driver standpoint. And I do believe Alex Albon is kind of cut from the same cloth. But a lot of that success, I believe, came from Capito being there to help motivate George and really, really get him to believe that, you know what, I can do something special in this car. And he did last season. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below, and again, let me know where you're watching from. Do you have any questions about F1? Who are you pulling for this weekend? What teams do you like? What's your favorite car? For me, you know it's Alfa Romeo and Williams, and in that order. It's only purely based upon looks. But also, too, if the F1 race doesn't happen this weekend, you will hear from me. I hope it will, given the recent events in Jeddah. God, I hope everyone's safe and well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Again, I am Prue, the best beard in all of F1. William Story, get out of here. Eat well, live well, be kind. Just like Ja Rule's acting career, we are out, and take care.